Jin's hands shook as she checked the numbers for the fifth time. The holographic display in front of her showed the same terrible truth. Their son was dying much faster than anyone had predicted. She brushed her luminescent blue hair away from her face, a trait all Nairi shared, and took a deep breath to steady herself. The lad was quiet at this late hour. Most of her fellow scientists had gone home to their families, leaving her alone with the devastating discovery. Through the large window of the research center, she could see their sun, once a brilliant white star, now taking on an alarming reddish tinge. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself, though she knew it was. The calculations were perfect. Their sun wasn't going to last for the next 300 years as they had thought. They had less than 6 months before it would begin to collapse. The sound of footsteps made her turn around. Sunho, her research partner, walked in with 2 cups of warm tea. His usually cheerful face looked grave. "You found something, didn't you?" he asked, placing 1 cup next to her workstation. The steam rose slowly in the cool air of the lab. Jin nodded, pointing to the display. "Look at these energy readings. The core degradation is happening exponentially faster than our models predicted. We're not talking about centuries anymore, Sunho. We're talking about months." Sunho's bioluminescent markings, which usually glowed a soft green, dimmed with shock, a natural reaction among their people when faced with fear or distress. He leaned closer to the display, his eyes widening as he processed the data. "We need to tell the council," he said finally. "Right now." An hour later, they stood before the emergency council chamber. The room was circular, with tall windows showing the nighttime sky of their homeworld. 12 council members sat in their elevated seats, their aged faces illuminated by their natural glow. Elder Jinwoo, the head of the council, looked down at Jin with concerned eyes. "You understand what you're saying, young one?" Jinwoo asked, his voice gentle but worried. "If these calculations are correct, we have no time to build the generation ships we planned. Our entire evacuation strategy would be useless." Jin finished, her voice stronger than she felt. "We need to think of something else. We need to act now." The council chamber erupted in worried whispers. Their civilization, billions of people spread across their home planet, and 3 colonies within their solar system, had based all their plans on having centuries to prepare. Now they had only months. "What about our trading partners?" asked Council Member Myre, her usually bright orange glow pulsing with anxiety. "The Centaurians, the Proxima Alliance." Sunho stepped forward, bringing up another holographic display. "We've already started running scenarios. Even with our fastest ships, we can only evacuate about 20% of our population in 6 months. We need help." The council fell silent. Their civilization, despite its advanced biotechnology and scientific achievements, had never built large-scale space transportation. They had focused on perfecting their world, not leaving it. Their few trading ships were mostly automated, small, and entirely inadequate for a mass evacuation. "We must tell the people," Jinwoo said finally, standing up. His ancient face showed the weight of leadership. "We cannot hide this, but we must prevent panic." "Jin, Sunho, I want you to prepare a detailed report. Make it clear, make it simple. The people need to understand what's happening." As they left the council chamber, Jin looked up at their sky. The stars shone brightly, but all she could focus on was their sun, barely visible on the horizon, its color wrong in a way that sent chills through her body. "What do you think will happen?" Sunho asked quietly as they walked back to their lab. Jin's bioluminescent markings glowed a faint purple, a sign of determination among their people. "We keep working. We keep trying. Maybe someone out there will help us. We have to believe that." Little did she know that help would come from the most unexpected place, a young species that many advanced civilizations still considered primitive. But that help was still days away. And for now, the weight of their dying sun hung heavy over their world, as billions of Maori slept peacefully, unaware that their lives were about to change forever. 3 weeks had passed since Hujin's discovery. The news of their dying son had spread across their world, and now she sat at the main communications center with Sunho, sending out another desperate message for help. "This is the Nyari Central Command requesting immediate assistance." Sunho spoke into the transmitter, his voice tired but clear. "Our star system faces imminent collapse. We have billions of civilians in need of evacuation. Please respond." Heijin watched the screens, hoping to see any sign of a response. The communication room was huge, filled with blinking lights and soft humming sounds from the equipment. Other Nyari workers sat at their stations, all sending similar messages on different frequencies. "Still nothing from the Centaurians?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Sunho's natural glow dimmed slightly as he shook his head. "They received our message. They just aren't answering." The truth hurt. The Centaurians, their oldest trading partners, had simply stopped responding 3 days ago. The same was true for the Proxima Alliance and the other advanced civilizations they had known for centuries. A young communications officer, Bora, rushed over to their station. Her skin was glowing bright yellow with excitement. "We got a response from the Stellar Federation." Heijin and Sunho quickly turned to their screens. After days of silence, any response felt like a miracle. The message appeared on their display. "To Nyari Central Command, we regret to inform you that the resources required for a mass evacuation exceed our current capabilities. We recommend focusing on your colonial outposts for survival." End transmission. The room fell silent. Even their natural bioluminescence seemed to dim all at once. The Stellar Federation was one of the most powerful civilizations in their known space. If they wouldn't help, "They're lying," Sunho said quietly, his hands clenched into fists. "They have the ships, they have the resources. They just don't want to risk them." Heijin felt anger rise in her chest. "Keep broadcasting," she ordered, standing up. "I need to report this to the council." As she walked through the streets to the council building, she saw how their city had changed. People moved quickly, purposefully. The usual cheerful greetings were replaced with worried glances. Many carried packs of emergency supplies, even though the evacuation plans weren't yet final. The sky had changed too. Their sun, visible through the protective dome of their city, had grown noticeably redder. Scientists were working in shifts to monitor its deterioration. Inside the council chamber, Elder Jinwoo listened to her report with a heavy heart. His aged face seemed to have gained years in just weeks. "So none of them will help?" he asked, though it wasn't really a question. "They say they can't," Jin replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "But we know they can. They just won't." Myray, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Perhaps we should focus on saving who we can. Our ships could at least evacuate the children." Before she could finish, the chamber's communication panel lit up. Bora's excited face appeared on the screen. "Elder Jinwoo." "Hejin, we're receiving a new signal. It's not from any civilization we know." Heijin rushed to the panel, adjusting the controls. A voice came through, speaking in a language their translators took a moment to process. "Nyari Central Command, this is Captain Jai-yun of the Earth First Response Fleet. We've received your distress signal. We're organizing an evacuation fleet. Please respond with your population numbers and immediate needs." The council chamber erupted in confused murmurs. Earth, the home planet of humans. They knew of humans, of course, a young species that had only achieved faster than light travel in the last century. But they had never had direct contact with them. "Are they serious?" Mirai asked, her glow pulsing with uncertainty. "Can they even help? Their technology is centuries behind the Stellar Federation's." Heijin looked at the message details again. The human ship was already moving toward their system, not waiting for their response. "They're already coming," she said, her voice filled with disbelief. "They didn't ask about payment or resources, or what they'd get in return. They're just coming to help. Sun Ho's voice came through her personal communicator. Hejin, you need to see this. We're getting more signals. Dozens of them. All from Earth. They're calling every ship they have. For the first time in weeks, Hejin felt her natural glow brighten with hope. Maybe, just maybe, these humans would surprise them all. Send them everything. Jinwoo ordered, standing up. Every detail they need. If they're willing to help us when no one else would, we owe them that much. Outside, their dying sun continued to burn red in the sky. But now, somewhere out there, help was finally on the way. The main control room of Nyari Central Command buzzed with activity. Hejin stood before the massive view screen, watching as the first human ships appeared from their faster-than-light jumps. Their ships looked different from any she had seen before, less elegant than Centaurian vessels, more solid and sturdy-looking. They're here earlier than they said they would be, Sun Ho noted, checking the readings. They must have pushed their engines hard to reach us so quickly. The lead ship, named Hope's Dawn, was bigger than the others. Its hull showed signs of quick repairs and recent modifications. Hejin could tell they had prepared these ships in a hurry, focusing on function over appearance. The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. Captain Jai-yun's face appeared, the first human most of them had ever seen. She looked tired but determined, her short black hair slightly messy, and her uniform wrinkled as if she had been wearing it for days. Nyari Central Command, we've arrived with the first wave of rescue ships, Jai-yun said, her translator making her words clear to everyone. We have 50 ships in this group. More are coming. We're ready to start whenever you are. Elder Jinwoo stepped forward. His usual formal manner softened as he spoke. Captain Jai-yun, we don't know how to thank you for coming. But I must ask, why did you come when others wouldn't? Jai-yun's expression showed surprise at the question. You needed help. That's all we needed to know. Now, let's focus on saving your people. More screens lit up as other human captains joined the call. They didn't waste time with formal greetings. Instead, they immediately started sharing their evacuation plans. My ship can take 5,000 people, one captain said. We've converted our cargo holds into living spaces. We've got room for 3,000 on each of our transport ships. Another added. They won't be luxury accommodations, but they'll be safe. Hejin watched in amazement as these humans discussed their plans. They didn't talk about payment or debt. They didn't mention the risk to their own ships. They just talked about how to save as many people as possible. A new face appeared on the screens, a human woman named Yuna, their chief scientist. We've studied your biological needs, she said, looking at her notes. We've adjusted our life support systems to match your atmosphere requirements. We've also set up special lighting to match your natural light needs. Sun Ho's glow brightened with surprise. You did all this in just a few days. We worked in shifts. Yuna replied simply. Everyone volunteered extra hours. We knew time was critical. The Nyari Council members watched silently as the humans continued their briefing. These were not the most advanced ships in the galaxy. The humans didn't have the elegant technology of the Centaurians or the advanced systems of the Stellar Federation. What they had instead was determination and speed. First ships can start loading in 1 hour, Captain Jai-yun announced. We'll begin with the outer colony since they're most at risk. We've mapped out a schedule to reach everyone we can. Hejin noticed something on one of the secondary screens. Captain, she said, your ship's engines, they're showing signs of stress. Did you push them beyond safe limits to get here? Jai-yun smiled slightly. We did what we had to do. Don't worry about our ships. We built them tough. Elder Jinwoo's voice shook slightly as he spoke again. Some of our other, former allies, said this rescue was impossible, that the risks were too high. Nothing's impossible, Jai-yun replied firmly. Difficult, yes. Dangerous, maybe. But not impossible. We've evacuated planets before. We'll do it again. The meeting continued as the humans laid out their plans. They had thought of everything, from how to transport the elderly and sick to how to preserve important cultural artifacts. They had even prepared entertainment systems for children to help them cope with the long journey. As He-Jin listened to their plans, she understood something important. The humans weren't just offering ships, they were offering hope. They looked at an impossible problem and simply refused to accept that it couldn't be solved. "We should start organizing the first groups," Sunho said, his glow now bright with renewed energy. He-Jin nodded, looking at the determined faces of their human rescuers on the screens. For the first time since discovering their son was dying, she felt real hope. These humans, with their sturdy ships and determined spirits, might just help them achieve the impossible. Outside, their red sun continued its slow death. But now, its light fell on the hulls of 50 human ships, with more arriving every hour. The rescue of the Nairi people was about to begin. The first day of evacuation showed everyone just how different humans were from other species they had known. He-Jin watched from the control tower as the human ships landed one after another, their engines kicking up dust on the landing pads. Chief Engineer Ta-Won from the Hope's Dawn had turned the loading process into something that looked like a well-practiced dance. Humans in work suits moved quickly, setting up walkways and helping Nairi families board the ships. They carried children's bags, helped the elderly, and made sure no one got left behind. "Look at how they modified their ships," Sunho said, pointing at the nearest vessel. "They cut new doors into the hull to make boarding easier. They didn't even wait to reach a proper shipyard to do it." He-Jin nodded, impressed. Where other species would have spent weeks planning and making things perfect, the humans simply solved problems as they found them. If a ramp was too steep, they rebuilt it. If their translation devices had trouble, they used hand signals and smiles. Inside one of the ships, He-Jin met with Captain Jae-yun to check on the first group of evacuees. The ship's cargo hold had been transformed into a living space. It wasn't fancy, but it was comfortable. The humans had hung curtains to create private areas for families, and they had set up special lights that matched the natural glow of Nairi skin. "How are they doing?" He-Jin asked, watching Nairi children play with human crew members who were teaching them simple Earth games. "Better than expected," Jae-yun replied. "Your people are very adaptable. We were worried about the difference in gravity, but everyone's adjusting well." A small problem arose when they discovered that Nairi children's natural glow grew brighter when they were excited, making it hard for them to sleep in the shared spaces. Within hours, Ta-Won and his team had rigged up special sleeping pods with adjustable light filters. "We're learning as we go," Ta-Won said, wiping sweat from his forehead as he finished installing another pod. "But that's what humans are good at, figuring things out on the fly." By the end of the first day, they had evacuated more people than they had planned. The humans worked without breaks, their determination never wavering. When one crew got tired, another took their place. He-Jin found herself working closely with Yuna, who had set up a monitoring station to check on everyone's health. The human scientist had dark circles under her eyes, but she kept working with a smile. "Aren't you tired?" He-Jin asked her. Yuna shrugged. "Sure, but there's too much to do to worry about that now. We can rest when everyone's safe." An alert sound caught their attention. One of the ship's engines was showing problems after too many rapid takeoffs and landings. He-Jin expected them to stop loading people until it was fixed, but the humans surprised her again. "We'll load through the back while fixing the front," Ta-Won announced, already heading to the engine with his tools. No need to slow down. Elder Jinwoo visited the ships to check on his people. He-Jin watched as the old council leader's eyes filled with tears at the sight of human crew members sharing their food with Nairi children, teaching them Earth songs, and treating them like their own families. "In all my years," he said quietly to He-Jin, "I've never seen anything like this. The Centaurians called us allies for centuries, but they abandoned us. These humans, they treat us like family after knowing us for just days." A small problem turned into a heartwarming moment when they discovered that Nairi babies glowed brighter when they were happy. The human crews started a friendly competition to see who could make the babies glow the brightest, leading to lots of silly faces and gentle games. As the sun set on that first day, Ho Jin stood with Sun Ho and watched more human ships arrive in the darkening sky. Their red sun cast an eerie light on everything, a constant reminder of why they had to hurry. "Do you think we'll make it?" Sun Ho asked softly. He Jin looked at the humans working tirelessly below them. Taiwan was still fixing the engine, covered in grease but working with a smile. Captain Jai Yun was helping carry bags, despite her rank. Yuna was explaining Earth customs to curious Nairi children. "Yes," He-Jin replied, her glow brightening with certainty. "With these humans helping us, we'll make it. They won't stop until everyone is safe." Above them, more rescue ships appeared in the sky, their lights looking like new stars coming to replace their dying sun. The bad news came on the 10th day of the evacuation. He-Jin stared at her readings with growing fear. Their sun was getting worse much faster than they had predicted. Again. "We don't have 6 months," she told Captain Jai-Yun and Elder Jinwoo in the emergency meeting. "We have less than 2 months now." The room fell quiet. They had evacuated many people, but not nearly enough. At their current speed, they would only save about half of the Nairi population before the sun exploded. Jai-Yun didn't waste time with panic. "Then we need to work faster," she said simply. "Yuna, what if we combined our technology with theirs?" Yuna, who had been studying Nairi ships, looked up from her tablet. "Their biotechnology is amazing. If we could adapt it to our ship systems, we might be able to carry more people safely." He-Jin felt a spark of hope. "Our biotech is designed to support life. If we could merge it with your ships." "Let's do it," Jai-Yun decided. "He-Jin, work with Yuna. Taiwan will help you with whatever you need." They turned one of the larger human ships into a workshop. He-Jin watched in amazement as Yuna and Taiwan took apart human machinery without fear. They weren't afraid to try new things or make mistakes. "What if it doesn't work?" He-Jin asked as they connected the first Nairi biopod to the human ship's power system. "Then we try something else," Yuna replied with a tired smile. "That's what humans do. We keep trying until something works." Their first attempts failed. The second attempts failed too. But the humans never got discouraged. They worked through their rest periods, drank lots of coffee, a human drink He-Jin now understood was very important, and kept trying new ideas. On the 3rd day of experiments, they had a breakthrough. The Nairi biotechnology successfully merged with the human ship systems. The new hybrid system could support twice as many people in the same space. It worked. Taiwan shouted, his face covered in grease but beaming with joy. "Quick, let's adapt this to other ships." Teams of human engineers and Nairi scientists worked together to modify more ships. They taught each other their technologies, shared meals, and kept each other's spirits up as they worked. Meanwhile, Sun Ho noticed something interesting about the evacuees. "The children are handling the evacuation better than the adults," he told He-Jin. "They've made friends with the human children on the rescue ships." He-Jin saw this herself. Human and Nairi children played together in the ship's corridors. The human children weren't scared of the Nairi's glowing skin. They thought it was beautiful. They made up games about who could make the Nairi children glow the brightest with laughter. But the sun kept getting worse. Strange solar flares started to appear. One day, a sudden radiation burst forced them to stop evacuations for several hours. "We can't risk the ships during these flares," Taiwan explained. "The radiation would be dangerous." Elder Jinwoo looked defeated. "Perhaps we should focus on saving the young ones," he suggested sadly. "We elders have lived our lives." "No," Jai-Yun said firmly. "We're not leaving anyone behind. We'll find a way." And they did. Yun-A discovered that the Nairi biotechnology could help protect against radiation. They quickly added bioshields to their ships, allowing them to continue evacuations even during solar flares. The humans also called for more help. He-Jin learned that many human ships were coming from their vacation trips, changing their plans to help with the evacuation. Cargo ships, passenger ships, even private vessels, they all came to help. One night, as they worked on modifying another ship, He-Jin found Yuna crying quietly in the workshop. "What's wrong?" He-Jin asked, worried. "Nothing's wrong." Yuna wiped her eyes. "I just received a message. My daughter back on Earth is having her first school play today. I'm missing it." He-Jin's glow dimmed with sadness. "I'm so sorry." Yuna smiled through her tears. "Don't be. She told me she's proud that her mom is helping save people. That means more than any school play." Looking at her friend, He-Jin understood something important about humans. They didn't help because it was easy. They helped because it was right, even when it cost them something personal. Above them, their dying sun grew more unstable each day. But now they had a real chance to save everyone, thanks to the incredible determination of their human rescuers who refused to give up, no matter what problems they faced. The sky had turned an angry red. Their sun, now swollen and unstable, filled much of the horizon. This was the last day, everyone knew it. The final hours of their home world had begun. He-Jin stood in the control room, watching the screens as the last groups of ships took off. They had worked miracles in the past weeks. Thanks to the combined human and Nairi technology, they had saved far more people than they had hoped. "How many are left?" Captain Jae-yun asked, her uniform wrinkled and dirty from helping load people onto ships. "About 10,000, Sun-Ho reported. "Most ships have already left the system. Only 5 ships remain, including the Hope's Dawn." Jae-yun nodded. "We can fit them all. We have to." The ground shook with another solar quake. These were happening more often now. Parts of the planet's surface were already breaking apart. The protective dome over their city was the only thing keeping them safe. "Captain," Ta-1 called over the radio, "the sun's activity is increasing. We have maybe 3 hours left, not 4 like we thought." He-Jin watched as the last families rushed toward the ships. Among them was Elder Jinwoo, who had refused to leave until the end. "The historical archives," the old elder said suddenly. "We can't leave them. They contain our entire history." Most ships had already left. The remaining ones were filling up fast. Trying to load the massive archives would take time they didn't have. But once again, the humans surprised them. "We'll take them," Jae-yun said. "Ta-1, clear out Cargo Bay 3. Yuna, get your team ready to move those archives." "But Captain," one of her officers protested, "that's cutting it too close to." "These aren't just books and files," Jae-yun interrupted. "This is their history, their culture. We're taking them." The next hour was a blur of activity. Human crew members worked alongside Nairi volunteers, carefully but quickly moving the archives. They had to dodge falling debris as the ground shook more violently. "The dome is starting to fail," Sun-Ho reported, his glow dim with worry. "We have less than an hour now." He-Jin helped guide the last group of children onto the Hope's Dawn. The kids were scared, but human crew members kept them calm by teaching them Earth songs and games. A massive solar flare lit up the sky, brighter than day. The protective dome cracked but held. "That's it. We have everyone," Yuna called out. "The last archives are loaded too." But as they did the final count, they found 2 Nairi maintenance workers were missing. They had stayed behind to keep the dome's power running so others could escape. "I'll get them," Jae-yun said, putting on a protective suit. "Captain." "No." Ta-1 protested. "Send a drone." "No time," Jae-yun replied, already running toward the dome's power station. "Keep the engines ready." He-Jin watched the screens anxiously as Jae-yun's life signs showed on the monitor. The human captain found the two workers and helped them back. All three barely made it to the ship before another solar quake hit. "Everyone's aboard," Sun-Ho confirmed. His hands were shaking as he looked at the readings. But the sun, a massive solar eruption, was building. If they didn't leave now, they wouldn't be able to escape the system. "Launching now," Jae-yun ordered, her voice rough from breathing the hot air outside. All ships, full power. The Hope's Dawn and the other 4 ships lifted off. Through the viewports, Ho-jin watched their world for the last time. The beautiful cities under their cracking domes, the forests where she had played as a child, the oceans that were already beginning to boil, all would be gone soon. Elder Jin-woo stood beside her, his ancient face wet with tears. "Our home," he whispered, "but not our end," Hei-jin said softly, putting her hand on his shoulder. They watched as their ships raced against the growing solar storm. The human crews worked their stations with intense focus, pushing their engines to the limit. Finally, after what felt like forever, they cleared the danger zone. Just in time. Behind them, their sun began its final collapse. "All ships accounted for," Ta-1 reported. Everyone made it. In the ship's main hall, Nayari children were already playing with human kids, their combined laughter a reminder that life would go on. Their home was gone, but thanks to human courage and determination, their people would survive. Jae-yun, still in her dirty protective suit, looked at the final count. "We did it," she said simply. "We saved them all." Outside, their sun finally died in a spectacular explosion. But the Nayari people were safe, carried away in human ships, toward a new future none of them could have imagined just months ago. 3 months after the evacuation, Ho-jin stood on a stage in the Great Hall of the United Earth Council. Her natural glow was bright with excitement as she looked at the crowd before her. Humans and Nayari sat together, a sight that now seemed completely normal. "6 months ago," she began, "we thought we were going to die with our sun. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy turned their backs on us. But then humanity proved that being advanced and being good are not the same thing." In the front row, she saw Captain Jae-yun, now wearing a clean formal uniform. Next to her sat Elder Jin-woo, who had become a bridge between their peoples. Yuna was there too, sitting with her young daughter, who was playing with a Nayari child, both of them glowing with happiness. "The humans didn't just save our lives," Hei-jin continued. "They saved our culture, our history, and our hope. They worked until they were exhausted, then worked more. They modified their ships, shared their homes, and treated us like family." On the screens behind her, images showed the new Nayari settlements on Earth and its colonies. Beautiful bio-buildings grew from the ground, created by combining human and Nayari technology. The structures glowed softly at night, making Earth's cities even more beautiful. "Many asked why humans helped us when others wouldn't," she said. "We found the answer in how they work. Humans don't wait for perfect solutions. They don't stop when things seem impossible. They just keep trying, keep working, keep helping." Sun-Ho, sitting in the audience, smiled as he watched several human children walk past, their clothes decorated with glowing patterns inspired by Nayari skin. Already, the two cultures were mixing in wonderful ways. "Our scientists said saving everyone was impossible," Hei-jin continued. "The Stellar Federation said it couldn't be done. The Centaurians said it wasn't worth trying. But humans?" She smiled brightly. "Humans just asked, when do we start?" The hall filled with warm laughter. Tai-1, who had fallen asleep in his chair, he was still working too hard, woke up with a start and grinned sheepishly. "Today, we're not just survivors," Hei-jin said. "We're building a new future together with humanity. Our biotechnology is helping Earth grow better food. Our medical knowledge is helping human doctors. And human determination is teaching us to never give up." She gestured to a group of young Nayari students sitting with their human classmates. "Our children don't see humans as aliens or saviors anymore. They see them as friends, as family. They play together, learn together, and dream together. In the back of the hall, a new type of tree grew, a hybrid created by Nyari and human scientists. Its leaves glowed softly like Nyari skin, but it was strong like earth trees. It was a perfect symbol of their peoples coming together. "We lost our home," Hajin said, her voice growing softer, "but we found a new one. Not just on Earth, but in humanity's heart. When the most advanced civilizations showed us their empty promises, humanity showed us their full hearts." She looked at Captain Jai-yun, who had tears in her eyes. "They say humans are young, that they're not as advanced as other species. But we learned that having better ships doesn't make you better people. Humanity proved that true advancement isn't measured by your technology, but by your willingness to help others." Elder Jinwoo stood up slowly, his aged face peaceful. "To all humans," he said in carefully practiced English, "thank you for becoming our family." The hall erupted in applause. Human and Nyara children ran up to the stage, their laughter mixing together. Some of the human kids were even starting to glow a little, thanks to careful bioengineering that let them share in Nyari traditions. After the ceremony, Ho-jin found Jai-yun looking at the stars through a window. "Thinking about something?" Ho-jin asked. "About how spaces between stars aren't empty at all," Jai-yun replied. "They're filled with chances to help others. We just have to be brave enough to try." Ho-jin's glow brightened. Outside, Earth's sun was setting, its healthy yellow light so different from their old red star. But she didn't feel sad anymore. Their story wasn't about losing a home. It was about finding one, about discovering that sometimes the youngest species could teach the oldest ones what really mattered. And somewhere out there, other species were hearing their story. The story of how humanity proved that being advanced meant nothing without kindness, and that impossible things could happen when people simply refused to give up on each other. It was the beginning of a new age, not just for the Nyari, but for humanity too. Together, they were showing the galaxy a better way forward, one helping hand at a time.